name is Caroline Huder. I'm the manager of the Neue Kammerspiele, a cinema which is located in Kleinmachnow, very close to Berlin and Potsdam. We present events, theater, dancing, readings. First of all, of course, we are showing movies on this big screen.
I'm Susa Popp. I'm co-founding director and artistic director of Public Art Lab. We curate and produce projects in the public space with digital technologies. Most of our projects connect people and places with networked scenarios.
Hello, I'm Valeska Hanel. I'm the cinema programmer of Neue Kammerspiele Kleinmachnow. We are a classic art house cinema, and we play European art house, American independent, and some other beautiful screenings.
The idea for our project, Connecting Cinemas, we had when we once met in Brussels.
It was all about how can a cinema become a cultural center or an innovation hub in rural areas where there's often a lack of other cultural institutions. The consortium is consisting of 4 cinemas from Germany, Croatia, Romania, and Greece. So it's interesting now to see the ideas of the students and young people, how they would like to transform the screen of the cinema into an interactive wall with playful interventions.
When we got the acceptance, there was a pandemic situation, but of course we thought, oh, it's only going to take a couple of months. But we were wrong, so we had to rethink everything. And this has become the indirect threat for our creative team to find new dimensions of cinema making or digital formats still focusing on cinema and culture. The Connecting Cinemas Lounge.
Good evening, dobra večer, buonasera, kalo apojevna, guten Abend, bonsoir. What a treat to be here on location in Kleinmachnow at the Neue Kammerspiele. Don't worry, I mean, we all wear masks as soon as we leave the stage. And of course, basically, we are very into sanitary conditions. But I can sneak you in, and we're going to do this. I'm AC Coppens, I'm the founder of the Catalyst Agency, and I have the pleasure and the honor to host you for this very first Connected Cinema Lounges, part of the digital event series of the EU project Connected Cinemas in Rural Spaces, supported by Creative Europe Media. And I have here next to me Caroline Huder. Caro, hi, nice to see you, even from the far distance. Tell us a little bit more about this wonderful place here.
Yeah, hi, welcome to the Neue Kammerspiele in Kleinmachnow. I also want to welcome all our partners in Croatia and Greece and in Romania and Netherlands and Belgium. Hi, welcome to the Neue Kammerspiele. Now this is our nice place. The Neue Kammerspiele is a cinema from the 30s. And we still have the seats, as you can see, from the 30s, the original seats. And since then, it's always a cinema. So it never turned to something else. So we have movie history here since the last 80 years. Yeah, we are located very close to Berlin, only 300 meters maybe to the former wall. And so we have also a lot of people from Berlin coming to our cinema. Yeah, and we were one of the, we had, together with Susa Popp from Public Art Lab, we had this idea to connect the cinemas, not only like we usually love to connect our audience together with other people in the audience, so we also had the idea to connect also the audience from other cinema in other parts of the world, and so we create this Connecting Cinemas idea. At this moment, of course, the original idea was to connect the audience, which is physically in the space, which is not possible at this moment. But I think we found really nice ways to change our idea into the possibilities we have at this moment. So, like this evening.
very special project within the project, so to speak, that we have tonight with the lounge. Thank you very much, Caro, for this introduction. And now I'm going to guide you to someone. She's a fan of the project. She has been part of the labs, and of course, she's supporting the project because it is Susanne Schmidt of Creative Europe Media, the desk of Berlin-Brandenburg. Hi, Susanne.
Hello, nice
From the far also. So you're a fan, right?
Of course, I'm fan, and I'm fan from the very beginning on. And I had the pleasure to support a little bit the, bringing to life this project. And it's not only because we have fantastic partners here and a really and true pan-European project with, a very diverse and approach, but it's because it's meant to be overcome distances and getting closer to places outside the centers and to other perspectives. And I think in these challenging times, that is even more valuable than before. And regarding our theme today, I think cinema is dealing with distance and closeness all the time and from the very beginning on. And I think now maybe even more when cinematic space and physical experience is somehow shifted to a digital environment with audiences that are really disconnected. So really challenging times for all exhibitors and cinema owners, we know that. And I'm very optimistic that we can use this disruption of daily business to reinvent and reflect what our new possibilities may be. And in this sense, I'm really looking forward to our debate now and wish us a really great evening.
Thank you, Susanna. This is great. And now let us watch on a video how cinema made it in this difficult time to overcome the problem of distance. Connecting cinema lounges was created in a moment where it was actually impossible to go to the cinema during the lockdown. So the creative energies were actually forced to go on digital all the time. You know what I mean? Anyway, how Connected Now Cinema Lounges was developed in a series of digital events in a kind of a new salon, so to speak, because here we are in a lounge which is hybrid. We're here, we're not there. This is great because actually the theme of today is distance, the key word of the pandemic era, the core of change, keeping distance to avoid, well, you know why, to get into this pandemic craze and making us at the same time avoiding what makes us actually human, what makes us live. So this is great that we have this theme today, and especially for this premiere, we will discuss together how distance has been actually influencing film history, or also what is distance in cinema language, or is improvisation possible when there is no closeness, but distance and only distance, and maybe also technology. We will also discover together what is bar hopping. So quite a few questions we will explore together. But before we go into the core of the matter, I would love to introduce you to Valeska Hanel. She's actually the initiator of the Connected Cinema lounges, actually, because I think there will be a series of lounges. We're going to ask her in a second. She's a cinema maker and the cinema operator of the cinema here at the Neue Kammerspiele. And she will be joined by a choreographer, a very special choreographer. We will see B. van Vark, the movie critic Daniel Koten-Schulte, and a former psychologist turned coach and educator Daniel Al-Kabani. This will be the lounge, but first I will turn to Valeska, as said. Valeska, you are the initiator of this lounge. Tell us, how did it start? Once upon a time, you decided to make a lounge?
Well, like my four speakers said, it's very certain circumstances that we all have to deal with. And since part of the EU project is to be, as a cinema in rural areas, to become a cultural hub, to stay the cultural center, the idea of bringing culture in a way and be a cultural center and exchanging about culture, like it was done in European saloons. You have a host and then you have hopefully interesting people seeing things from different perspectives, was the choice. And we wanted to tackle themes of the time, but without really naming what it's about, to make it more philosophical, to try to get to the essence of what it is we're in here. So that was the idea.
And why did you start actually with distance?
Well, distance really has a grab on all of us right now. And what started with a physical distance, we're still keeping the physical distance. Hello, everybody.
We are very far away from each other.
Far away from
I think it's the first time I see you from the far. Yeah, but you could have been starting with closeness or intimacy.
Yes, but see, you can see life very linear, and then a distance starts here. You start at a point and there's a distance going linear. Mm-hmm. But if you think it more circle-wise, which I tend to think, the further you go away from a point and circle, you know, the closer you come to the other side. So closeness and distance really are two sides of the same medal.
Absolutely. They belong together, so to speak. So I would say, let's go to your favorite bar.
Okay.
Okay?
This bar, actually, I've never been in. I just imagine it could be one of my favorite bars. I love it from a distance.
Okay, let us see.
I'm here in Valeska's favorite bar. But where's Valeska?
Hi.
Hey,
Here I
Valeska. What is this bar?
This bar is Bar Luce. It's designed by Wes Anderson.
What are you going to have to drink?
Well, I think I'll just have a glass of white wine here.
You're also one of the top guests in the Connecting Cinema Lounge.
I'm part of the people that invited other people. I'm the cinema operator and programming chief of the Neue Kammerspiele. So the idea of distance and cinema is definitely something that concerns me right now. But this distance that is physically imposed on us leads to personal distances and emotional distances among each other.
In which kind of situations do you enjoy distance?
Looking at it from a mountaintop.
To look with a distance on distance. This is awesome.
That's one of the things that cinema gives you, you know, cinema scope. Mm-hmm. You can be in an emotional distance to a movie and look down on some wonderful landscape, not even being part of it, but almost being part of it.
Which kind of situations distance is the least thing you would have?
Between people you love. Emotional distance, I think, is not a good thing to have between friends.
I guess this is something we can all relate to.
Yeah.
So, cheers.
Cheers. My wine hasn't come yet.
Maybe I'm going to have a look at the bar and bring you your wine.
Yeah. It's so crowded here, so it's so busy.
Yeah.
Valeska, emotional distance in a movie. Actually, interestingly, in English, close means, from the Latin closum, both shut and near. So, we have been close at home in the last months. You say in the interview, emotional distance in a movie. Can we be actually a distance in a movie? Because cinema is swallowing you, basically. You are in the film. You are first in the cinema, closed, shut down in the cinema, so to speak, and you are in the movie. The screen is in front of you. It's a huge screen, right? So can you be at emotional distance in a movie?
Oh, yes, I think you can be emotionally distanced in a movie. It can start with the fact that you just do not enjoy the movie and think you'd rather want to leave and have a glass of wine with your friends. But of course, emotional distance is also done technically in a movie. So maybe when you're dragged in too much that you don't see the whole picture anymore, you have technical things with the shots to draw you back out, to look what's really happening.
Mm-hmm. And when we look at the project Connecting Cinemas, which is aiming at creating closer connection between these places which are remote actually and very well sleeping these days, how can you actually inject new energy into cinemas?
That's a difficult question. I think really people are very longing for cinema. So the energy is there. It's just waiting to go there again. And I think a good way is trying to listen very closely to what people miss about the cinema right now. So when they do open again, you know how to play your audience and keep a good watch on what films are there. And maybe it's even a chance, because a lot of Hollywood films weren't produced, to focus your programming on films that maybe you wouldn't have shown. And now with enthusiasm, you can present and say, this is the films we have here, please come.
So there will be a bottleneck of films, like an explosion of different films as soon as cinemas are open again?
Well, there are good films, like all the films that have won the European Film Awards, they're not in the cinema yet.
Right.
Just to name one, Rausch, which won, it's just waiting to be started and to be seen.
Yes, it's a long waiting queue, I think, for the movies. I can't wait. Thank you, Valeska. I will come back to you in a second because I want to know more about emotional language and distance in the movies. But for now, distance, dance, B, I'm going to come to you. How we have with us now B. van Vark, and what a name. One of the most important choreographers and dance teachers here in Germany with international impact and charisma. Our participatory dance projects are realized in different spaces, social contexts, and very often in urban spaces, actually. Space, which is a very important dimension of distance. So, I would say also one can decide a lot of things about what is close, what is distance. But first of all, let's meet B in her favorite bar.
Hi, good evening. Here I am in Bruchberg, B. van Vark's favorite bar, waiting for her.
Hi, Valeska.
Hi, B. What are you drinking?
I will have a select spritz, please.
So why is this your favorite bar?
I really like the interior design. It's kind of cozy. It's got 2 turntables and a piano and an old-fashioned film projector. All the alcohol they have is top-notch and they know what they're doing. I've also met some really interesting random strangers in there.
I hear you're a talk guest of the Connecting Cinemas Lounge. Why do you think you've been invited?
Because I do Distanz. So Distanz is the German translation from distance, and translating it back, it means distance. And distance dance is actually what I've been doing for the past year.
Is there any advantage to the distance we are living in?
Distance in this sense means for me that I have the space and the freedom to decide who is close to me and who is distant to me. So it means freedom and it means power.
Anything you don't like about it?
And in general, I say I really do have interaction with at least 100 people basically on a daily basis. And interaction means not only communicating with them, but in my case also touching them. And all this is not there. I really miss touch, and I feel it down to my bone. We wither and wilt away when we don't have touch. And so I would like to have both.
Looking forward to hearing more from you in the talk.
I see you at the talk, okay? Valeska, take care.
See you then. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Bea.
I love it. Distances, power, and freedom. Well, this is not what we think about distance these days at first sight. I wanted to ask you, dear Bea, do you think our perception of space, so what is close and what is not close, or all perception of what is also well, space and distance, did it change a lot in the last year?
I think the perception of closeness has definitely changed. I mean, I yearn, like most people, for touch, for closeness. I really miss that, and I think it has become so much more valuable, and also that we see it has become so much more valuable. At the same time, it has become so dangerous. We all know this little dance that we know, but that we go down the street and there's a crowd of people, and so we all do these little choreographies now in the street, you know, because the other becomes the stranger, might become even dangerous for us. And I think another point is that it also becomes so strange. Even today, coming here, I felt like, I don't know, I don't really want to go. The weather's so bad. Maybe we can do it via Zoom, you know. And even so, at the same time, I was so looking forward to meeting people. I felt it so strange to be meeting people. And do I still function? Yeah, so this is one thing. And remoteness, yeah. On the personal level, I really wished for something like this. So this has come for me not so bad, you know. And the distance and not being close to other people in many ways has brought me closer to myself. And I've heard many other people saying that as well. And that comes because in general, I have much more output in my life, of course, than I had now. That meant I had so much space for input. And I tried to use the time very well.
And you were talking about these choreographies on the street. I can so much relate to it, like, you know, people hesitating. It's actually fun. But do you think our relationship to public space also has changed, yeah?
Yeah, I think public space has become much more important. And like there's this Saturday, there's markets on the Saturday, there's a market around the corner from my house. And that basically has come back to the traditional sense that a market had, you know, not only to go shopping, but also to be in the market and to have some contact with other people, to have something to eat. So much more is happening there. Communication is happening there. And of course, you know, by now, everybody is so used in the way of how we move around each other in these spaces in the market. I kind of really enjoy that. Here we were allowed throughout the pandemic situation to go and meet at least one other person in the outside. And so I think, I mean, all this has become so much more in the center of people's life. You know, places that have been neglected have become really vivid, lively places again.
Okay, we will come back to these dance perspectives here. Very interesting. But I'm going to turn to the next guest, and this is Danielle K. for tonight. You will know why in a second. Otherwise, Danielle Koten-Schulte is a lecturer on film and art history, a film critic journalist in the German national daily newspaper, Frankfurter Rundschau, and a regular contributor also on TV, the WDR television. And he's also an author. Hollywood in the 30s, or books about Robert Redford, Fritz Lang's Metropolis, and he also plays the piano to silent films. It's too bad we don't have a piano here on stage, we would have it. Anyway, I would say let's go to Danielle K's bar.
Hello, here I am at the Six Pack in Cologne, waiting for Danielle Koten-Schulte.
Hi, there you are.
Why is it your favorite bar?
It was the hotspot for all the pop stars. I met Primal Scream here and you name it. It was also the hotspot for the intellectual crowd, the editors of Texte zur Kunst and Specs, you know, the fancy pop and art magazines.
Anything you like about distance?
You know, I had a film projector as a kid, and the only way to project an image was to create some distance. And the bigger the distance was, the bigger the image became.
What don't you like about it?
Well, there's this great country song, From a Distance. And that's all about God watching the world from a distance. And that explains all the misery in the world, because God is only watching us from a distance. I've always been suffering from distance. I'm a shy guy. I always had to overcome the desire to be, on one hand, unaffected by other people, being myself. And on the other hand, I had a very strong desire to be close to other people.
My feeling is that a lot of great film critiques and people that interview stars actually are shy and overcome their shyness by approaching people that are famous.
Yeah, interviewing people is the most absurd conversation perspective that you can ever have, because you're not likely to meet these people ever again and you have never met them before. So you create some kind of relationship, which is of course just a setup. It's what the sociopath would do. I remember Rowan Atkinson, who played Mr. Bean. I got him that far that he confessed to me that he would never ever play Mr. Bean again. So I was the first person to publish this information, because I got him to the point that he said, I don't want to do it anymore.
Well, I'm sure we can talk more about this. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing you in person, Daniel. See you soon. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Daniel, I love this answer about the interviewer and etc. Even if it has, I mean, I don't know. I think in an interview you can get really close to someone very quickly because you have no real time to do so, and it is so intense, right? So it's like in a film, basically, because you meet and you see people on screen for 2 hours and you will never see them again. So exactly like an interview. So can we be close to the characters when we watch a movie?
Of course. I mean, the cinema was invented to create a pseudo closeness. You have photography, which is as huge as a stage. And the first cinema screening, as we know, that the Lumière brothers projected, had this train approaching, and the people were running away because they thought the train was coming. So that close the cinema got, and it still gets that far. And if we think of the challenge that the cinema is now facing because of the internet media, and people prefer to watch streams at home, just as they did in the 1950s when television came on. That was a huge progress in the 50s for CinemaScope, for the huge cinema screens. So the cinema invented itself again, just to challenge this new obstacle. And Fritz Lang, the director, he hated CinemaScope so much that he said, well, this is only good for snakes. What can we do with such a screen? And a few years later, we had Sergio Leone, who you like very much, Valeska, I know. And he had these white spaces, and then he had a dashing close-up of just the eyes of Henry Fonda. And that's how far you can get with the cinema, which is still an illusion, and it's still the anti-illusion because it's artificial as anything.
Artificial, but we want to believe in it, right? We want to be in it. So tell me, you as a film critic, when you want to review a film, do you need distance, and how much distance do you need to the film, and how do you make this distance happen then? Does it mean time? Does it mean, what is it?
It's a good question. Some producer once said to me, I love the cinema because I can close the door behind me and then I'm alone. Because this producer had never the time to watch a film on her own, but in the cinema she could. And therefore I like to be alone in the cinema. It's beautiful to be there with a friend, it's beautiful to be there with a crowd, but most films I've actually seen alone, or actually have felt alone because I was so close with the film that the audience actually didn't matter. And I have so vivid memories of me as a teenager leaving my house, taking the train to the city and watching a film just for myself.
This is wonderful. I mean, so you're not missing cinemas then if you are...
I love cinemas. I mean, this is a wonderful place. And if I see a place like this, I've always felt so much at home at the cinemas because I left my actual home to go there. No, that is my favorite place. So therefore, I connected to all the cinemas, and I remember every cinema where I saw a film, and the other way around, you know. And this is what you forget when you watch a film on Netflix. You forget where you've seen it, and when you've seen it.
We will talk about this later. We keep it warm, keep it warm. We will go there. But for now, I would like to go further because we already slightly evoked that, yes, we have a game here between distance and closeness. And this is also a big question in psychology when we are looking at relationships between human beings, right? And the big question is also with the mediation through technology. Can we have closeness? Does it exist? And I'm turning now to Daniel A. for tonight again. Daniel Al-Kabani. He studied psychology. He's a high-level coach and trainer and a high education teacher, also through distance. And he knows how to use technology, of course, and playing with distance, presence, and closeness. So, Daniel, you are the further away from me here tonight. But before we speak, let's do as if I would have seen you in a bar.
Hello, here I am now, sitting and waiting for Daniel Al-Kabani in his favorite bar, in the bar Sputnik. Hi, Daniel.
Hi.
What would you like to drink?
I think I have a gin and tonic. You have the feeling that you know everybody who's inside there, even if you haven't met them. And of course, they regularly have the very best improv theater group of Paderborn in there.
Which you're a member of, right?
Yeah.
So is that why you're invited to this to the talk?
Yeah, well, I guess it's this is one of the aspects. I work as a higher education teacher trainer. I do workshops for teachers at universities. Distance is also an interesting aspect in teaching, especially when you think about online teaching. Only because you are in the same room, you can have a very big distance between the teachers and the students. But also, if you're teaching online, you can be really close to the students.
Is there anything positive you can say about distance?
We need distance to other people. We need distance to things around us, to our problems, to our lives. And sometimes we also need some kind of distance to ourselves.
What is negative about distance?
I really hate when friends of mine or very important people to mine are in a far distance. This is nothing that you can beat with technology.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to meet you at the talk and hear more about this.
Okay, thank you very much for being here.
Bye-bye.
Daniel, in this bar discussion, you're telling that we need distance to others, to things, to problems, to life, to ourselves. But you didn't say why. Why do we need that distance?
Well, I guess we need that from time to time, of course. Everybody is so involved in his life, obviously, and of course emotionally involved in his life. But I also do some coachings, and when my clients come to me, they have some kind of a problem. They are really they're emotionally involved in this problem, of course. And sometimes they are so focused on some aspects of the problem, and they cannot find a way out of it. And sometimes I just zoom out, and we have a look at the big picture together. And there's no aspect in this big picture that comes from me. Everything is the knowledge of my clients.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have a look at the big picture together from kind of a distance, then it's the problem, of course, is not gone at this moment, but this is the best moment to think about, okay, where can we start to find a solution for your problems? So you need the distance to see the big picture. It's nobody wants to sit in the front row in the cinema because, of course, you can see the movie, but maybe you're too close. It's better to sit in the back, then you can see the whole panoramic view and get everything together. And this is like your life, your problems,
yes.
Also relationships. Sometimes you have to have a distance to a relationship to see, okay, is this what I want, or maybe do I need something else?
And you're saying also in this interview, far distance. You don't like far distance with people you love or are important to you. What is far distance? What is far?
Australia, for example.
But you're very far away from me right now.
Yeah, of course.
Relatively speaking.
At least we can talk, and we could stand up and meet in between within a few seconds. But a very good friend of mine actually is living in Australia, and of course we can have a phone call or Zoom meeting or something like that. But we cannot sit together in a bar and drink a gin tonic. It's really hard to plan that. And how far is far away? It depends on how easy it is for you to meet in one real situation, one real room. So.
And by the way, dear audience, we will be able to meet all in all these bars later on, or whatever bar, because there will be a special chat at the end of this session, this lounge. So don't miss it. It's going to be really fun. And the link will be set in the chat. And by the way, I can also tell you, yes, there is a chat on the right of your screen. So it must be on your right, exactly. And participate, send your questions, because at the end of this panel, I will be able to ask Lilith and Charlie, who are here far away, to ask them for the questions you have been sending. So don't be shy and interview us, so to speak, and send you a question, and tell also to whom you would like to ask the question, and I will be your voice later on, so to speak. So, yes, distance. So comes from Latin, also Latin dis, meaning apart, and stare, I did Greek, so stare, meaning stand. It is like, yes, distance, and it has a different perspective we can take on this. And I would like to take the first perspective, like in the film, the language of distance in a film. So to close the loop of this panel, I start with you again, Valeska, but after that we're going to mix it up. So how do we speak distance in film language?
In film?
Yes.
Well, one thing that Daniel A. said was that you sometimes have to go apart to see the whole picture. And it reminds me of a quote by Charlie Chaplin, who says, life is a tragedy in a close-up, but a comedy in a long shot. And I think what it has to do with it, even though I think there's also comedy sometimes in a close-up the other way around, but what it says is if you have a long shot, you see a character in their surroundings and you can put them in perspective and see where they belong. Are they lonely? Do they belong where are they close to their surroundings? You can illustrate that with coloring or something like this. With the closeness, you can get so close in the cinema to a person in a close-up that you can actually, see their pores, hear them breathing, and you can actually fall in love with a stranger just because you look at them in a way as if they were close to you in real life. And through this whole identification you have in cinema with the characters and the empathy that's happening, just through language, as close as you come or as far as you look at somebody in a long shot, your emotional distance or closeness changes to whatever it is you see.
And this, maybe Daniel K., is this close-up that we have, is this what we call the Italian shot? Is it the name?
That's the way to call it, yes. But yeah, I've heard that.
In which films do we see these? Which are the most famous film for extreme close-ups or new ways to show closeness or distance that we've never seen before?
Well, we've always seen something before we've seen something else. But so let me remember. I mean, for example, Citizen Kane by Orson Welles. You see Rosebud, which is this the sled in the end of the film, but you also see the bearded lips whispering the word Rosebud. And I think it's, for example, that's something that I remember, because this film is so full of wide shots and long shots. A lens was built to photograph a huge hall from the beginning to the end. So yeah, that was one of the films that pioneered it.
And what is it? I mean, there are quite a few filmmakers, artists who want to remind the audience that they are in a film. So maybe they don't want to have this closed stuff. They want to remind us, like, hey, you're in your seat. We are in charge here for the art piece. So how does that work? You know, like with maybe when they look directly in the camera, for example.
This is also something that has been done many times, although it has been a taboo all the time. The first film I remember that has something like that is The Great Train Robbery. That's the first Western. And you have a bandit shooting into the camera, directly looking and shooting into the camera. And there's a big bang, and it happens twice at the beginning and at the end of the film. So it has been done. Of course, it's a break with illusionism, and you can afford it. And once you do it, the audience gets aware of the fact that it's a film.
Mm-hmm. But actually, I don't know, if somebody looks at me directly in the camera, I'm thinking like, no, they're looking at me. I am part of the film.
No, they're looking at the camera. They're looking at the technical thing.
Ah.
So it breaks the illusion. They're looking at you when you look into the television camera. Then they look at you. That's something different.
Or in the Zoom. I'm turning now to Daniel A, right? This is what's happening. I mean,
in the Zoom, we always look at ourselves. It's like taking a selfie. Isn't it? Because we have this small photo of ourselves at the same Zoom screen.
Oh yeah, but no, you can erase yourself so that you have everybody else, but not you.
Sure, but I have everyone in suspect that they only look at themselves, and maybe I'm.
Oh,
suspicious, but it's
I clicked. Yeah, exactly. I clicked this away. I don't want to look at myself. I want to see the people. But Daniel, how is it actually in the Zoom era? I mean, okay, we know that Zoom is not cinema. Okay, but Daniel A, because you are into Zoom worlds when you are with your clients or with your teachers or in your classes and etc., are you looking into the camera?
Yeah, but this is really a challenging part to switch between looking to the people who are talking to me,
yes,
because this is what I'm used to, and on the other hand, looking to the camera, because if I answer, or even if I want to give them the feeling, yes, I hear you, I'm listening to you, I'm listening to you, then I have to look to the camera, not to the people actually, and this is really strange to monitor where you are looking at this point and where you should look at this point. And this is also one part of why it's so exhausting to do a Zoom meeting if you want to do it right, because this is a more cognitive load to be aware of so many things and also to see yourself. This is also a thing. So imagine there would be a mirror here in front of you and you were always looking at yourself when you're talking to us, then we know from research, then we start to evaluate ourselves if we see ourselves.
In real time.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm glad we do not have these monitors here on stage. We are between us. It's a lounge, it's a salon, right? This is what Valeska already wanted to have. B, I would love to know from your perspective. I mean, I was hearing a dance teacher told me like, oh, when the dancers are now in front of the camera on Zoom, they are looking like left and right, and they're dancing left and right, but they are not really going into the depths, like close to the camera and backwards. I'm not sure of this, to be very honest. I saw a series where they were dancing everywhere. But I wanted to ask you, do you think that technology can, as it is right now, can show us the space? I mean, in cinema, does it show us the space, or it is also an illusion of space because it is 2D, right? So how do you see this as a choreographer?
I think, I mean, the digital choreography, I've been working with the people over the last year. I think we used a lot of the tools from cinema, actually. And we started working with being very distant and with being very close, and especially working with Zoom. As we all know, we all see each other normally in Zoom just as the portraits, you know, like we kind of snipped away the portraits and opened up the spaces and worked in the spaces. And that is a very interesting experience for the audience, because now there's this little, what you can have in the cinema as well, this little voyeuristic aspect that comes into there. And then the people performing, they started actually making a stage design, you know. So it looked still like they're flat, but I know, like I said, but you had different sheets half an hour ago. And she said, yeah, during the break, I kind of like, and then like, oh, people putting up plants, stuff like this. So actually building a stage situation for the performance on Zoom or for the rehearsing on Zoom.
And the usage of space for dancer, how does that work? You have to be so on camera. It's already like shooting in a film.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is something that has to be initiated and it has to be verbalized a couple of times and over again. But I mean, as a dancer, you are being used to work with space because space and time are your two tools.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't need much as just saying it. And then I find the beauty in it. I find as well, like coming back to what both Daniels basically said, it's like one is changing the perspective, you know, like it's beautiful to use the Zoom camera as something that can show a dance just from your skin. You know, it is beautiful to be able to get so close to somebody and use all these possibilities.
Yeah, you wouldn't be so close if you had the dancer on stage, right? No. Daniel, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, because this is something I also experienced in my improv theater group. Of course, we couldn't meet for a long time now, but we tried to practice via Zoom also. And this is exactly what we found out. So the first meetings were like, okay, what to do here? We only can talk, we cannot interact. But then we started to experiment with techniques from the cinema, like those shots, you know, take some pieces of paper and just have this, just the eyes shot, you know. You cannot do this on a real improv stage. Or something like how could we interact with each other. In the last week I just tried to take the arm of one of my co-players, and of course she was not around. I tried to make my own arm come in like it was her arm, and she tried to move her arm in her box so that it looks like, you know, I would grab her arm. And this is really interesting to find new ways of using the camera, using this box as a new way of improvising that was not possible before.
Be, do you think it is possible to improvise without this close proximity, actually, through technology?
I think it's always possible to improvise because improvisation is a technique that you can learn and that you can improve and you can get better with. I mean, we are improvising now, right? Every conversation is an improvisation because it's not said before. And to improvise, I think to improvise you need to trust yourself, first of all, you know, trust in your own skills and in the movements that your body can do. And even if it's just a movement of cooking, you can feed from that, you know. And you need, space and time always. What else do you need? You need to be aware that you only move when you really have to move, you know. If you don't feel like it, you don't have to move. You need rules. That's important. You need rules. And tools, rules and tools. These are the things that you need. And then I think and then it doesn't matter where you are, you know. And I think, of course, to get over, I love this German word, get over your innere Schweinehund, your inner pig dog, to get over this and do it alone, when you're alone and not feel awkward, you know. I mean, most people, when they're dancing alone in their Zoom rooms, Zoom spaces or so, they're a little bit self-conscious in the beginning, especially in improvisation, you know. But then, for example, you can take just the air that you make while you're moving, you know, that could be your partner. And then with Zoom, I'd give you one example, which I found really easy, very simple and very sweet. It's like we have the gallery view and you just put every performer in the gallery view and you say, don't do nothing. Just use these involuntary movements that are actually going to happen, you know. And after a short amount of time, really, you know, I mean, things happen and they get enlarged, obviously, they get enlarged, you know, and then people are actually dancing together. Even so, we have only these little gallery views.
I know these gallery views.
Yeah.
But I think, Daniel, it was you were saying like with portraits, shots, and etc., like talking heads. This is what we see all the time in Zoom every day now with these remote programs we have. Do you think that do we have actually less films with talking heads right now? Is there a trend with less talking heads?
Yeah, there's definitely a trend in documentary to avoid talking heads.
Why?
You have them, but you see them in wider shots. You see the whole apartment where they're sitting and talking, and not just the shots anymore. It's a convention. that has been established in documentary, like there's many other conventions. It doesn't mean a thing. It's only to make it similar to fiction films. You see in documentaries that they tend to look like fiction films more and more, the commercial documentaries, not the artistic one.
I thought it was something which was more coming from the visual anthropology, that you do not want something, an artificial conversation, but that you are more studying your subject, so to speak, or in their environment, indeed, as you are saying. Yes, I mean, we could go on that one, but...
It's a good point, because what I'm missing is the real portrait.
Yes.
Portraiture in documentary is really fading away. You rarely see a good shot of somebody, which is like a photograph. You just see technical pictures, and that's what I hate.
Valeska, how is it your point of view on this? I mean, do you think that we are going with less and less talking heads? Is this actually reserved now for more TV formats, and the documentary is taking the whole screen, also taking the whole space on screen, with not only a head on it, but investigating new environments, longer shots? How do you see this?
Well, I think it's true, because I've seen some documentaries of young women filmmakers here, and I think what Bay said, changing the bed sheets in the break, that's what I meant with the long shot. You know, you see then the plant is there, and if you look at a picture, it becomes a relation to the character, and you don't only look at the character, especially when it's not shot well and not a beautiful photograph, but you start understanding the character by their surroundings, by what plants do they have, which colors do they surround themselves with. And I think the fascination of the long shot and having your environment tell something about you is actually, gaining room, becoming bigger.
So if we think in this portrait where maybe we are getting closer to the protagonist or not, depending on how we see this, do you think that, or when we think of the zoom where we look at each other in the camera, do you think that the more technology wants to give us the illusion that we are close, the more we can feel actually we are not close, it doesn't bridge real presence because there is no interaction? Do you think that technology of film or zoom cameras, sound, does it manage to bridge the absence and giving us a feeling of presence? Who would like to take the question first? Yes, Babe, please.
I mean, from my experience, that really works. Yeah, I've really worked with people that didn't know each other, and they really bonded. They really formed a group, and so that actually did work to an extent. Yeah, to an extent, so only. And that's my personal experience. Is that only works? I feel close with the group, and we are working together really nicely. It is a very open atmosphere. We listen, we improvise, we learn, we teach together. But as soon as the Zoom is over, I forgot what has actually happened, you know, and then I have to really, really sit down again before the next rehearsal and reread again what has actually happened. This would never happen in an analog situation. I will always remember this analog situation. I will always remember the color of the chair. I will always remember the cameraman standing there, you know. But so it's a so situation, you know. You gain some, you lose some.
Also, it stays a substitute, maybe. You know, not being able to have a lot of experiences. I'm talking about a today experience.
Yes.
For example, we were a little bit stressed out because the train came late, and Daniel K, his handy was off, and I was communicating with Daniel A, who I hadn't met before, because they could somehow communicate through Messenger. And I was waiting, and we didn't know each other before, and by the time I picked him up then on the street to come here, he had brought me some chocolate because he sensed that I was, you know, nervous and I needed some nerve food. And that's a real experience between people, you know. And so I think that sometimes going into only the digital format, it's great because we don't have enough experiences right now. We don't meet enough people. We don't have enough adventure. So we're glad to find some in a way of connection.
Yes, but going back to my question again, I mean, cinema is nearly everywhere digital now, 4K, 8K screen with pixels and etc. Do you think that cinema manages also to give us a feeling of presence? When we are here sitting in this wonderful room and we have this screen in front of us, like, do we feel these people like as they were there? Or are we victim of an illusion somehow because we dig into the emotional space? Or we know that no, they're not close.
Even the worst dance film, like A Chorus Line, for example, gives you an idea of the stage just because of the dust and the air and the space that the cinema can actually. Don't you agree? I think it's always. Or Chantal Ackermann made this film about Pina Bausch, and
yes,
I'm so happy that the film exists. You know, what this film preserves, and unique space and time and beauty.
Yeah.
But to answer your last question, last time, I think closeness is not actually the ultimate goal in cinema, because if you look at the great documentary, I mean, documentary that you think has brought you a picture of a certain person, maybe a person in a delicate social situation, then the idea is to preserve discretion, to preserve some distance. Otherwise, you couldn't stand it. It would be exploitive. So that's the goal. You know, you go somewhere and then you step back, and it has to be in a dialogue situation.
This is really wonderful. Daniel A., yes, please.
So many aspects where I would like to talk about. Maybe I answer on the last part. So, or on your question, I think it's more like to think of new ways to give the people thrill, because we also learn to get used to what we experience every day. You mentioned the example before with the train coming out of the screen, and the people started to run away. That would never happen today with this same movie. And also the really big movies like the original King Kong movie. Mm-hmm. Nobody would be scared anymore somehow, because this is something we see every day in television. Every advertisement in television has more graphic visual effects than this old King Kong movie. So we are used to it, and so you need more effects to make it more thrilling again. I guess this is more a part of why you need more tech in cinemas.
I think we're going to go a bit deeper into the technological aspects, also the future of cinema making in a second. I think it might be a good moment to have a little entr'acte, because I think what Daniel K. was saying was just so perfect. If it is too close, we cannot stand it again. This is wonderful. I would suggest a little entr'acte, so to speak, and we're gonna see a couple of videos so that we have our little entr'acte, and then we will go back to the interaction between us.
Oh, wir sind die Ersten.
Oha, wie krass.
Oh Gott, nicht die.
Ausgerechnet die.
And now we're going to travel after this wonderful little interlude, the entr'acte, before we get into interaction again, as I was saying before. And we're going to travel because we're going to meet the partners of connected cinemas in rural areas. And it will be Fortress of Culture Sibenic, Croatia, Cinema Amza Pelea in Romania, Cinema Star in Greece, MC2 Bremen in Germany, Amsterdam University of Applied Science in the Netherlands, and KA European Affairs Belgium. I just want to see, because I think they're going to join after a trailer together with us on Zoom. Yes.
Prvenstveno volim film zato jer smo svi u svome filmu u neku ruku. Isto tako volim film jer omogućuje da se skupa družimo, svi skupa, znači prijatelji i obitelj, isto tako.
Acasă pot vedea orice film, însă experiența de la cinematograf este cu totul alta. Aici sunt dezbateri, invitați special și oameni noi pe care pot să-i cunosc.
Μας άρεσε πάρα πολύ ότι η οθόνη είναι μεγάλη, με ωραίες αναλύσεις, ωραίο ήχο και ειδικά στο θερινό εδώ πέρα σε αυτό το σινεμά μας άρεσε πάρα πολύ το περιβάλλον.
War hier in Kleinmachnow im Kino die Karl-May-Filme aus den 60er Jahren auf großer Leinwand gesehen zu haben.
So can I see everyone in the Zoom now? Really? I can see all the talking heads at once on the screen? Yes. This is wonderful. Nice to see you. Hello from Kleinmachnow. Good evening. Dobra večer. Buonasera. Kalo vojena. Guten Abend. Golden Abend and bonsoir. Are we all there? Can you hear me?
Yes. Perfectly.
Yes, wonderful. Yes. I can hear you too. This is great. So I welcome Morana, Martina, and Svetlana. Are you all three there from Croatia? I would love to ask you a first question. You're so far away. So how does distance actually affect you over there?
It actually brought us closer.
You are closer now?
Yes, we are. We had to connect quite good. And I have to say the measures in Croatia aren't that tough as in Germany, so we're okay. We're coping.
You're coping. This is very good. Okay. And how is it with you missing the cinemas? Or are the cinemas open right now?
Right now, I don't think so, but we will soon open our cinema.
What is soon? What is soon?
In 2 weeks' time.
Ah. We're going to cry here on this stage. Yes, this is wonderful. Okay. How is it in Romania? Mihai and Julia?
Distance is not so far in Romania. So just imagine that in the morning, I drove for 2 hours, so 200 kilometers. I met with Julia and the other colleagues. We work in the cinema, and I drove back to my home, another 200 kilometers. So what's the distance means? Nothing. And now we are speaking with entire Europe and maybe the entire world.
Okay, so that was a great opportunity to get to tighten the links and the bonds. This is good. So the cinemas are closed or open right now?
Since 1 week ago, they are opening again, but only with 30% of the capacity. But still, not all of them are open. In our case, we are now renovation our cinema.
Mm-hmm.
So we are in the process of reborn our cinema.
Mm-hmm. And do you think there will be more open air cinemas now because of the situation?
Yes, definitely. And we are preparing to have 2 open air cinemas, 2 locations in our town, one in the beautiful fortress up on the hill and one in the main square of the town.
Mm-hmm. Okay, mulțumesc. And then I would like to go to Greece. Eugenia, cinema star. How is it in Greece right now?
I think that today is our luckiest day because the Ministry of Culture just announced that cinemas in Greece are going to open at the 21st of May. So we are very, very happy about this news. And I'm very happy to share this news with you.
Yes, this is a scoop, right? I mean, that's new, brand new. You heard right now, so this is good. We are still waiting for this announcement. Okay, anyway. So thanks for now. I will come back to you in a second. Just want to go now to, Bremen, Germany. Juliva, are you here?
Yes.
Yes, great. Well, we are in Germany here, but you can tell to everybody what is the situation here and how do you cope with distance at M2C?
Well, the situation here is still that we're in a lockdown, so the cinemas are closed and pretty much everything is closed. But with M2C, we're actually cope really good with distance because we still can go in the building and see each other almost on a daily basis, which is great. But we also have lots of Zoom calls with other partners and the students, for example. So that really works fine. We can live with that for now, I would say.
Right, absolutely, yeah. Okay, danke. And what about Amsterdam, Pamela?
Yeah, we are a practical education in the University of Applied Sciences. So our school was allowed to remain partially open. So we've been going in and out a little bit, but then mostly it's been okay, actually, online and staying in touch on Zoom and on Teams. It's worked well.
Mm-hmm. So do we have someone from KEA, from Belgium, with us? No? No, we don't. Sorry. I thought we would have maybe all partners, but yes, it's Friday night, so okay. But we have fun here, at any case, in Kleinmachnow, the Neue Kammerspiele, together from the far with 5 countries at least, which is already good. Well, okay, no, okay, we are in Germany, so 4 countries joining us on stage tonight in this lounge. So tell me, maybe in a second round of questions, unless you have questions to them, you can also gladly ask them. What, can you hear the other speakers? Say something, guys. Whatever.
Hi. Good to see you guys.
Hi there.
Yes?
Hi.
Hi.
Wonderful. Yes, but now we are in the situation where we are too many people and we will talk at the same time. This is really like, okay, let me guide you a little bit. So why do you think is cinema and culture missing so much to our hearts? Who would like to take the first question? Let's ask Morana again. Morana, Martina, Svetlana from Croatia.
Why don't I tell you, or?
Tell me. Tell me, what do you think is missing you the most from cinema and culture these days? Or what has been missing?
Sense of, being together and, the program, whether it be cinema, movie or a concert or whatever, just taking you away from, everyday life and sharing the experience with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a complex question. So.
Yeah, we can make it very...
There are multiple answers.
Yeah, you're right. Well, you can give me further answers. Anyone who would like to tell me what is the next film you're going to watch? Who would like to take that one? Mihai,
anything.
Maybe.
Give me anything.
Anything, all the films.
Anything.
Valeska was saying before, like,
I'll take everything.
Yeah. Valeska was saying we have a waiting queue for films coming up now in the cinemas. We will have in German we say the Qual der Wahl. That's how the Germans say it. And it means something like the torture of choice, because it is just too many things to watch.
That's where problems.
Exactly.
For me, I just wait the moment when the lights are turned off. Doesn't matter the movie. So this is the moment I'm expecting.
Okay, so did you watch a lot of movies online in the meanwhile, or did you boycott the streamers?
I have to watch movies because I'm also selecting movies for our film festival. So I have to do it. It's part of my job. But yes, I did. And I don't like it.
Okay. Well, that's, how do you say, that is the consolation thing. It's that or nothing, so to speak. No movies at all, right?
Yeah, but it's so nice to share with somebody nearby you some emotions during a movie or screening. Yeah.
Yes.
So
absolutely. We are debating here on distance, as you can see. Can you watch the whole things with us, right? Can you follow us?
Yeah.
So is there anything you would like to say to what we've been saying before? Maybe you want to share an answer that we haven't been given, where you're sort of like, but they didn't say this. Now it's our opportunity to tell us that. Anyone wants to tell us anything here on stage so that we can take it for the second part of our discussion?
Maybe in the bar later.
So, the bar. We are going to the bar afterwards, so we will see you in the bar anyway. Don't worry. We will do some digital bar hopping in a second. So for now, I think I'm going to say goodbye to you, but just for a little moment, because we're going to go back to our discussion. But you are here with us, and it's really good to know that you are following us here on the stream at Connected Cinemas Lounge, right?
Right.
Okay, super good. So see you later at the spatial chat. Yes. So let us go back now to our discussion and the second part of the discussion. We were actually there with presence and technology and etc., talking heads and etc. And I wanted to go a little bit deeper into the technicality, or maybe what cinema, films and etc. are able to to do with us. We were talking about closeness, distance, but I also said something about presence. You remember? That was just before the entr'acte. And okay, it's just a guess. Let's say presence can only happen if we feel that there is something, that there is maybe a response. So maybe a response. So maybe films should be interactive. I'm thinking of interactive films, or maybe VR, where you can even, in the glasses of VR, with your eyes, choose a path in the story, for example, like a multiple choice question, right? Or touch screens where you say like, okay, I want this. Or I'm thinking of Bandersnatch, the last episode of Black Mirror of the, I can't remember which season it was, and etc. But is it more, do we need this in cinema? Is this the next generation of cinema where we'll be part of the film, or is just an illusion again because it is only reactive? Valeska, please tell me something about this.
I think that's the next generation of gaming, definitely. You know, what you're talking about is parts of gaming, and I'm sure it's probably going to be tried out in that way, maybe. But honestly, I really believe that cinema will just always be there more because of the nostalgic aspects. I think the people that really love cinema and make it happen again and again are more drawn to the nostalgic part of it.
Yes, well, maybe I'm not as optimistic as you are, because I'm thinking there are already some research where you are sitting in the cinema in peace, and actually there are some sensors checking how far do you smile? Are you laughing? Are you sweating? Can they feel the humidity in the room? And then maybe the change of the story would be a possibility then. I mean, I don't know. Don't you think?
It could be, but I think, for example, three-dimensional films. Like, because we renewed the screen here, and there was a discussion also, should we make it possible for three-dimension films? And talking to the technical people, they said, it's already going down again. So there are hypes. I'm sure things like this will come up, and everything that is possible will be tried to be done technically. But what I mean is like what makes the cinema, not every cinema, so it's not that optimistic what I'm saying, but the heart and soul of cinema, I think, is kept in a more nostalgic way. And of course, I'm saying it from the Neue Kammerspiele Kleinmachnow. I'm not the programmer of a big, multiplex. I know the people here, and I know why they come here and who comes here very often. And these are more the people that have a nostalgic feeling about it.
Okay. Yeah. And Be, how is it for you? Do you think that you need to have an interaction to feel presence and closeness, possibly also?
Yes, but the interaction actually starts when I leave my house door to go somewhere, right? I mean, I need this, and that's why I like to go, for example, to the cinema. That's why I go to the theater, and I want to have the other reactions of the other people around. I want to sense what the other people are sensing. I want to feel the direct kinesthetic experience, which I can get definitely from the theater. And I think through that, this is going to be staying alive, yes?
So going into these futuristic scenarios, or actually something which is not that futuristic, there is an academic cursus called Together, das Kino der Gemeinschaft, the cinema of the collective, or the cinema of the community somehow, which I think suits very well here for the connected cinema context that we have here. And this is at the Institute for Social Anthropology at the University in Bern and the Hochschule der Künste, also in Bern. And they have in their courses this case study of Stephen Köhn. That's a 17-minute movie of 2014, so it's not new at all. It's not futuristic at all, what I'm telling you now. And it is called Intimate Distance. So I thought I have to bring it here on this discussion. And it is a collaborative documentary, let's call it experiment, and you have 3 transnational families between Germany and Russia, Turkey and Colombia, and they have their webcam on, and they record their conversations for months. And it gives at the end a result of a very intimate insight into their communication rituals, the way they live, the way they actually relate, to bridge the distance they have in the way they also live, because they are far away from their families in Skype. And the interesting part here is the documentary has evolved actually without the presence of a director. So they were like completely in their mode of doing this. So do you think that this is something we're going to see? I mean, I was interviewing last week also Ai Weiwei at the CPH Docs Documentary Film Festival in Copenhagen, and he did Coronation. He directed it from Europe, and there were people shooting, and they were sending them the files. Is this something that, filmmaking through distance, is this something that's going to be actually coming more and more if we want to save the planet and we don't want to fly anymore? Not only in a context of censorship or in a context of, but in a proactively. What's your take on this? Daniel Kay, for example. Let's start.
Actually, the cinema is about taking you to other places and not staying away from these other places. So Ai Weiwei, of course, has good reasons not to be allowed to enter China when he makes a film about Wuhan and the coronavirus. And editing is always the key art in cinema, so he can make this film based on his assistant's work at home. But my God, I'm happy if somebody travels to the most deserted place in the world and makes a film there and brings it back. It's always been like that. And when it comes to virtual reality, the first time this thing came up, I thought, well, you can sample all the movie theaters in the world and put them in. And I can watch the films on my headset and imagine that I'm in my favorite movie theater. Not in my favorite bar, but maybe everywhere. So this will also be a place. And actually, since the end of celluloid film, cinema has already died. I mean, we have a few cinemas like this one that can still play celluloid film, but it's the time has already changed, and so we are actually facing a completely new idea of the cinema. And I'm so happy about this idea because a space that can be used, for example, for politics, for discussions, for live events. That has been missing. And do you know why? Because of capitalism. To open the big bottle. Actually, in the 70s, there was this big fashion of cinema for everybody, culture for everybody. There were public spaces opened in every small German city that had huge halls that could be used for everything. Most of them have been abandoned and commercialized because they don't make money. And that has been forgotten, how important it was to have public spaces in every village for people to gather and have discussions, for example, or play their accordion band. And we can do this again. And that's so wonderful, actually, Valeska. I'm so happy to have this cinema here around me and imagine what can happen here again.
Yes, we are in the cinema. But hey, we could have a watch party on a streaming service. Could we? Daniel A., what do you say? Did you have a watch party recently?
Not really, but I think about the question before. So directing from another place via Zoom, for example, I guess directors who worked with Klaus Kinski would really have enjoyed that option to distribute him at some point. But yeah, well, we talked about the possibilities from all the tech we got today before, and of course you mentioned some examples. We can work together over far distances. We can make things possible if we are not around. But on the other hand, there are some limitations, and what is missing is the experience all around of us, to really feel the people, to have the informal contact afterwards. And this is also what makes a shared streaming experience maybe not the same. We like sitting in the cinema and then go out to the bar, fetching some popcorn together, walk home for a while, talk about the movie. You just shut the stream down if it's done, or maybe you sit in the Zoom room and try to discuss the movie. But this is kind of artificial. This is what's going to miss. So the informal contact between the people. Zoom is very good if you have something to talk about, but Zoom really gets awkward if you don't have anything to talk about. Just sitting there staring at the screen. This is strange. But sitting here next to each other, that would be fine for a couple of minutes, and nobody would think about that. That's just cool.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're talking about cinema tonight, and we don't want to talk so much about streaming and etc. But I can't avoid the question, obviously, because there are so many also cinematic projects which could not have their premieres on the cinema, which were forced to premiere then on streaming, so to speak, or only on video on demand, and they were suddenly like left out of the cinema world, which is really sad somehow. I don't know, you see this maybe Daniel K. and you, Valeska. Do you think that cinemas are going to be the preview spaces for films which will be actually watched later on VOD?
Well, it's happening already, and that's what Netflix likes to happen. They already bought up the fancy Egyptian theater in Los Angeles, and actually they're the last hope for some other abandoned theaters in America to save them right now. It's very sad, and of course they use it as a showcase window for their digital productions that they want to show on their streaming channel, to make it something like the cinema. Even if it's not a film for the cinema, then it would have a screening and would appear like a film. People actually don't make a difference anymore between what's a cinematic film and what's something for Netflix. It's could be the same thing, but it can also be something that has no connection to a cinema space when it's being projected. I mean, you cannot project everything on a wall and it looks good. I don't think so.
Yeah, and who has a wall which is big enough to have the impression to be in a cinema at home, right? I mean, this is not...
Actually, this is the big challenge, that everybody has a huge television set like this one, or I have two projectors, one in the sleeping room and one in the living room. So what is the difference? You know, since cinemas became digital, you can have almost the same thing at home. That cannot be the difference. The difference must be the quality or something else, or the presence.
So... I mean, I'm thinking, Valeska, you were saying you were nostalgic, or you were thinking about the nostalgic aspects. Are we all here nostalgic because, oh, it's so nice and etc., but the next generation doesn't care? Talking about like connected cinemas and connecting cinemas and connecting audiences, you were evoking this in at the beginning, and we saw this partly also in the videos. What are the new audiences? What do they want? Do they want these cinemas to reopen? Do they want to go to the cinema? Are they missing the popcorn and the somebody was saying in the video also, hang out with friends and family outside of a streaming perspective in a room indoors, right? So what is the next generation? What is the next audience?
Well, of course, you know that that's a difficult question and a problem of cinema, to catch new audiences that grow up with Netflix and all this, how do you, Qual der Wahl, like you said, so many streams you can watch. I have connection with people that really do, like, I can't stress enough, love cinema, and there's young people that come and see classical films because they really love the form of cinema. Of course, there won't be as many anymore as there used to be. I don't think so. But I think you can tackle young people, because what Daniel said before, cinema is really a good option also to experience something like a film and then have conversations about it afterwards, about themes that, of course, young people are interested in too. And maybe some way of rethinking has to start. So not only a coming-of-age film is for youngsters, but maybe there are different subjects that we don't even know anymore how to make movies about, or what movies to show, and how to market them to reach them. I think the marketing is off a little bit too. Not that I have an idea, but I have 3 children. And I know they're interested in the world. So how do you bring their interest on cinema screen and also get them into the cinema? Maybe I think there's still some work to do.
I would say in terms of marketing, marketing people would say, well, it's the USP, what is a very unique selling point of cinemas that you cannot have with Netflix and co, right? And this is definitely the common experience, the social aspect, the huge screen, another quality in audio, being immersed or whatever. And I think certainly, and also it's the place. I mean, when you have a place like this, right? I mean, you love the place. You have to be in love with this place, right?
I think one problem actually is the attention span. I think the attention span of young people is really going down. And they're always used to being on different devices while they're watching and streaming. And cinema really needs your full attention. And I was thinking before, it's interesting, I don't know if I can say this right. When you're in the cinema, no matter what shot you have a close-up of the screen. You have no distractions. You do not have the plant. You do not have the different bedding. When you stream, when you sit at home and stream, that's what you have again. You think with one thought, oh, I have to unload the dishwasher. You know what I mean? You're distracted. And to get back to young people, I think they're very easily distracted, and they don't feel alive when they're not constantly distracted. Actually, yeah.
So it is something that Bei was saying at the beginning, like learning to be also with yourself, close to yourself, right? This is also this awareness, be present in the moment and not in 3 different things or multitasking on Zoom, etc. Right? Before I go back to you, Bei, Daniel, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so again, I could add something to almost everybody. Maybe, the satire page, the Postillon, they also had an advertisement for a new home cinema system that also simulates the noises from the people around you.
This is fun.
Something like that, so you have the real cinema experience at home. But what I wanted to say, as you said before, it's not the problem that the younger generation really has a decreased attention span. They have they are used to other opportunities of consuming multimedia, but this is only a short effect, so this is what I'm used to, but it's not that I would not be able anymore to watch a 2 hours movie or something like that. And you could also go back to the attention span before. I just wanted to add this, but another aspect that I think that really gets lost right now with all the VOD possibilities we have. This is something that I was dreaming of when I was a kid. I'll watch every movie I want to, every time I want, so this is great. But I guess what we lose is also something like a bigger group experience. It's also with television. So in former times we had only 2 or 3 TV broadcasting stations. We all watched the same movie on Saturday night. And we had something to talk about. We could dislike it, we could like it. And we had those epic cinema movies from all ages. And we all saw those movies. And we all had the same radio broadcasting stations and heard the same songs. We liked it, we don't like it, but we had something in common, some common experience. Now everybody can decide what he wants to see, to hear, when he wants to listen to it. And this also is a process that we lose the common things to talk about and the common experiences. And so I guess that's why the German crime series, the Tatort, still is ongoing, because nobody really likes the series, but they want to talk about the Tatort in the office at the next day.
Okay, I mean, you can talk about it in social media, right?
Yeah, of course, but you have to watch it before. Everybody has to watch the Tatort before that you can talk about that.
Okay, as such, I am actually unveiling. I'm not watching Tatort. I never watched Tatort. I mean, I had to watch. Why are they talking about? But anyway, that's not cinema. I wanted to make a parallel with Bei. I wanted to make a parallel because we can say, like, okay, cinema closed, we are missing the presence, etc., being there. But it is pretty much the same for dance, right? We are missing for dance theaters and dance stages, the same. And do we have streaming platforms for dancing? We have theater platforms, right? We do have that.
You can actually, I mean, everybody has reacted really quick during the situation. And in the beginning, I thought some things were very, what shall I say? They were lovable, like things that were transferred very quickly to be watched in a stream situation and very enjoyable. And I come back to something that you said before. I think that some of these things will stay with us. It's not like this is gonna go. I think that the live performance is gonna be stayed together at the same time as something that is specially created for that, because obviously you create specially for a streaming, a Zoom situation whatsoever. I think both things are gonna stay, but I also hope, and it's the same with cinema, that like people will just go out again, into the theaters, because I mean the direct experience of the presence, the direct experience, which is so wonderful, especially in dance, because you can feel in your body, you can create that a little bit. You can create that also with a Zoom situation, like one thing that worked, for example, is I've been working very much with the senses of the people. Like for example, when people are very quiet and they just say like, I hear, and then somebody says like, oh, I hear the ventilation. Then everybody who's watching it, everybody's like, oh, I hear my washing machine. Like so that is something that works, right? It kind of can make a common experience, but personally, I would say I really crave for this, the random experiences, the things that happen when you go somewhere, not everything is planned out. Like, besides from watching dance alone, like what we can do here in Germany is like we can meet one other person. I'm so sick of meeting one other person. I tell you, it's nice, but it's always so intense. I want something that's light. I want to sit at the table with people talking about a film or a dance piece I've just seen and talk to you for 1 minute and then talk to you for 3, right? So I want something that is more light. I want lightness to come. Yeah.
Do you think, Daniel K., that the next films coming up, they will probably integrate something from the pandemic? Maybe they don't show the pandemic, but they will be marked after the pandemic. Do you think we're going to see a new kind of films which we will feel the impact of this in the films? I mean, you as a film historian, you have a broad and wide range of films in your knowledge. So how do you project what's gonna happen in terms of themes and films?
I think there are so many films about pandemics like this one already existing.
Yes.
Almost show everything that we are experiencing now, not the same thing. And at the same time, there are so many films being made during the pandemic which are not about the pandemic. At the film festivals, we already seen them.
You don't want to see them right now.
No,
that's the
actually,
thing.
I experienced it myself when the pandemic came on and there was lockdown. I thought, well, all these empty streets, I need to take a photograph, and I never took one. Because I just didn't care anymore. The second day, I didn't want to preserve an image of this sad situation. And this is how people feel. A few years later, of course, great films will be made. Actually, this happened with the First World War. It took many years up until great films were made after the war, because it was so disturbing. And it happened with the Holocaust and many others. I cannot compare it, but it happens with crisis. People usually take some time. They need some time up until the cinema actually will provide them with some fictionalized version of it.
Okay, and maybe I think we have to be careful because we have questions from the audience also coming up. So prepare your questions in the audience. Go to the chat. Because I still have one question here, absolutely for everybody, that's for sure. So maybe we will see greater films about the pandemics, fictionalized, romanticized, whatever, in a couple of years. Because I think that nobody wants to see this right now. It's too close, as you were saying before, and it would hurt us probably right now. But I wanted to finish this discussion in our round for now to ask each of you to give me, in terms of cinema language, we all know there is an antagonist, right? And if distance is the hero, what is the antagonist to speak cinema? So what would be your personal antonym, your antagonist to distance, to get out of the distance conversation? What would be the contrary, the antagonist of distance? Who wants to start?
Distance.
The contrary of distance. Okay, maybe I should change my question. I mean,
That's a very heavy question. I have to go into myself.
Okay, yes, please, Valiska.
It's a little bit like this. If everybody's distancing themselves from something, you're leaving something. You're going from something, but you don't have a place to go anymore. You don't choose where you go. You just choose where you leave in the distance. And maybe the focus could be again, where do we go while we distance ourselves? Or can we choose again? Where do we want to go? And hopefully it's a cinema, of course. And
Bea, do you want to say something about this?
No, I'm still considering
You still have to digest. I mean, you had the power and freedom of distance at the beginning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you want as an antagonist there, right?
Yeah.
Daniel K?
I don't think that distance is the worst thing about the pandemic. Actually, it's the curfew. In my city, it's 9 o'clock in the evening. I cannot go out anymore, and I have to stay at home. So I'm distanced at home because this is supposed to be the closest place I have, but I hate it. So I'm at a distance already because I want to get out. So yeah, I can't wait up until this is over, since we all know that the outside you cannot get it anyway.
Yeah.
Daniel A, I give you a chance to say something.
First, let me mention that you just give another example for what I said in the bar scene before. So you said we all wouldn't want to see a movie about the pandemic right now. We need some distance from that before we are ready to see that. So what is the antagonist of distance? I would go in the same direction as you said. So the freedom to choose when to have distance, when not.
yeah,
But
that's the freedom to choose.
Actually, that's what Bea was saying. You don't even need to say anything, Bea. You had it already at the beginning, right? No, this is great. So let us check if we have, because we can continue this conversation. I mean, we could go on all night, right? But we have the bar after this. And maybe I would like to ask if we have some questions from the audience. I hope you're still there. Stay tuned. And I'm going to ask in the room, Lilith and Charlie, who are here. I don't know if you can see them. It looks, I mean, in case you cannot see them, it looks wonderful. We have a sea of red seats, which are very sadly empty. But in the middle, we have two lighting projectors of two projectors on these two wonderful beings who are on the chat. So you can see them now. You could not see them before, but now you can see them. So tell me one question, please.
Yeah, hello. So we are very happy to have some interesting questions. And one question was from Susanna, and I guess it's open to all guests. And she asked, do you think that cinema is still using its power of going beyond the limits of cinematic language? And is it still radical enough?
Okay.
Well,
who would like to take that one? You go.
Well, it's never radical enough. It's never been less radical than in the past 10 years or so. So it's about time to get more radical. And there's so many ways to do it. You know, you can do it with minimalistic means, and you can do it with maximalism, and I can't wait to see it. And yeah, I mean, we're really in for a treat about radicalism in cinema.
I would never dare to disagree with Daniel. But well, I'm sure you've all, there's some very radical movies from Asia. And I totally agree with you. The cinema needs to be radical, needs to be more political again, but we need a distance to it maybe as well. But Parasite, who won the Oscars, I really think was a film, it was radical, and it was playing with genres in a way. And the thing is, it reached the mainstream. That was the radical thing about it. But more of that, yeah.
Love that film.
I love that film too.
It brings me actually to a film which I didn't mention before, which is very specific. It is a film who just won the prize at CPH Docs of Ousmane Samasekou called The Last Shelter. And it is about when people moving out from Mali to leaving their family, exile. And it is a documentary in the shelter house where the people are in transit before they leave. And it is about distance, it is about missing, and it is about missing intimacy. I think it is something very interesting in the cinematic language, in the documentary also, the images and the closeness with the closeness with the protagonist, which is at the core. It has been well received, and I just wanted to it is something that you must watch for sure. But let us see if we have another question from the audience.
We would have another one from Pan as well, open to everyone. Watching a movie on Netflix Party allows for audiences to respond to moments in a film and make comments on what's unfolding in a more instantaneous way in the chat, without having to wait until the film ends to discuss. Do you think this is a good thing?
This question must come from a 13-year-old, I would say. Next generation question, right? Who thinks it's a good thing to wait, contain?
I think it's a thing. Yes, it's an option, and of course it changes the way how to experience a movie together. If you would do it in a cinema, if you would start chatting with a neighbor, you maybe distract the others. If you have a chat, then everybody can decide, okay, I watched a chat or I don't. Yeah, well, but I don't think this is better or worse.
Or worse, it's something else.
It's just another way of doing it, and this is also something that I experience in the higher education teaching. It's the same if you're watching a lecture and you can chat with the other students without distracting the teacher. You can also bring questions there, for example, that can be answered later without disrupting the lecture at this point, but the answer or the question will not be missing, but also you can directly chat to other students without nobody noticing it. So, yeah, this is also a thing where I would say it's just another way. It's not better or worse. It's just another way. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else on this? Otherwise, we'll take the next question.
No, but I
mean, yes.
You do your nails in a Zoom conference, you know, and it's something cheeky about it. I kind of like stuff like that.
Okay, well. Next question.
Yeah, we have another one for B, and maybe you can tell us more about your Distanz project in Leipzig and how did it work and how was it for you?
So, okay, many of the things that I've said tonight actually do come from the Distanz project in Leipzig. It was the Bertolt Brecht guest professorship, and I took a lot of the first steps into going into the pandemic kind of digital world with that. And it was really, it was an interesting development because First of all, Leipzig in Sachsen, and the numbers were so low, and it was like, oh, I can actually work here. You see, I can actually work here. So, and then it was supposed to be a hybrid project, and then I was in Berlin, and the students could still be in the theater. So they were in 2 theater spaces in different groups, and I was at home. And I have a lot of space at home, so that worked fine. I can very well dance, but there is something really, as a really nice thing, as something funny about this that I've never experienced before, which is, so the students had never met me, right? They don't know who I am. They've never met me live, and they had a meeting owl. I don't know if you ever had experiences with meeting owls. Had you? No? Meeting owl, it actually does look like an owl. It's like a human-sized kind of thing. And it's got camera eyes and a microphone and a loudspeaker. And normally it turns to the person talking, so it's used for conferences. But in this case, it was used for the rehearsal process. So it was kind of like dragged around the rehearsal room. And whenever the students were talking, they were talking to the owl. So I kind of envisioned myself just being the owl for them, right? So that was, yeah, I was the owl. And from there on, it had to become, the project became completely, I mean, everybody then else had the restriction got stricter. And from there on, everybody went into their Zoom rooms, into their spaces, and we started working from there. And actually, it became quite quick, quite clear that it was important that we use the theme of distancing and of the restrictions and what it meant for each one of them, that we took that as the thing that we would be researching, that we would be working on, because that was on the forefront of everybody's desire, everybody's thought, and it very much worked like a catharsis, I must say. It very much worked like to work through something, you know, to really work through something. So it was great to be flexible enough to be saying, okay, so whatever we had planned, we're now gonna go this way. And yeah, that was quite an amazing experience, also because the students were so wonderful, I must say. And for the thing of directing something, just making a turn to a question that was in the space before, for directing something without being present, I love to use that as a tool, you know. I love to use that, like, I don't know, I give an example. I would say, like, well, why don't you go out and fall in places? You know, and then people come back and they have fallen in places. And with that experience, again, it's like editing, right? And with that experience that they've fallen all over the place, I will use that again, then these experiences. So I don't think this is something so spectacular, new, unknown or something like that, because I do think it is a tool that is used in the theatrical world quite a lot, you know.
Okay. Do we have a last question? No? Then I would like to give you a very short, I mean, like really just a couple of words of each of you to close this round. Is there something you would like to add to the conversation that you think we should have been discussing? Maybe just a final statement on distance, or being close, or what you miss most from the cinema, which film you're going to check the next time in, what did you plan in your agenda, or which film are you reviewing soon and you want to see it in the cinema, whatever. Last statement, last little sentence from each of you. I start with Daniel A, maybe. We go the other way around.
Well, I guess there's missing a lot to this discussion, but could add just one more thing. I would say distance is also an interesting experience, and I'm really looking forward to what we take out of this experience. It's may also have some advantages, but also some disadvantages.
Yes,
I'm really
it's an adventure. Yes, thank you. Daniel K.
I think it's going to take a while up until we will adapt. And for example, to me, it was horrifying to enter a train for 6 hours today to get here. It was horrifying. I was not used to it anymore. So we will be amazed what we're going to go through after it's over.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
B?
I miss the most the smells of the sweat and the other bodies, honestly,
Yes.
and I'm really looking forward to have that.
The dancer is speaking, absolutely working with the body. Thank you, Be. And you, Valeska, as the initiator, and you chose this theme for tonight. I leave you the last words.
Actually, I wanted to say I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too.
Yes.
And I didn't draw the attention in the beginning to the fact that we're having 3 more lounges with our partners. And I would like to stress that all of our cinema partners, like we saw in Greece, Croatia, and Romania, are doing their own lounge to their own topics. And 2 of the topics already are set. One of them is superheroes, which is the Romanian topic, and you can tackle that from a lot of sides. And the other one is Tomorrow Never Dies, which is a Croatian theme, because Croatia was, as maybe you know or don't know, besides the pandemic situation, shook by an earthquake. So they really had to go through massive trauma.
Yeah, absolutely.
And want to see the good in it and want to go further. So I just want to draw the attention to, if you like the
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Yes, and we're not finished. So thank to all of you to have let me guide you through this distancing thing. And thanks to all of you who have been part of this. We're not completely finished yet, as we said. You have the possibility to meet all of us in the special chat in an informal way. Bring your own drink, please. We will be in special chat for 30 minutes, and the chat will show you the link. So check the chat for the link to spatial chat, okay? And we will do some bar hopping, and then you will have the solution to what is bar hopping, what is digital bar hopping. Hurry up, last call, all drinks, 30 minutes. And we will have also a next event on July the 1st, the Media Architecture Biennale in Amsterdam, which will be also very nice. So stay tuned for that too. And we have the further launch coming up. So we're not done yet. Tomorrow never dies, indeed. So thanks to all of you. See you in a sec. And good night. Laku noć. Noapte bună. I have to read that one. Kalenishta, Welterusten, and bonne nuit.